ADvTECH has announced that Chief Executive Frank Thompson will be stepping down at the end of next year. He joins us now to discuss his decision and his future plans. There's a bit of a wave of this happening, Frank. We had your counterpart at SPAR deciding, but that was for personal reasons, family reasons. What's making you decide to go off into the sunset?
Well, there's never really in the life of a CEO a good time to step down. If you think about it, the organic and continuing nature of the job means that there are always things starting, things in the middle, and things ending. Having looked at the situation, I've been in this job for 11 years and will have completed just over 12, I think, probably by the time I step down. And looking forward, we've spent 5 or 6 years building up an exciting investment strategy that's going to take the company forward for at least the next decade or longer, which will put me past my 70th birthday. And in the light of that, my feeling was that it was time now for the company to look for a new person to take that strategy forward. I've always believed that the best time to do this sort of thing is when there's still a future ahead of you and not only the downhill. I believe in term limits, and I think you have to act out those that you believe in.
11 years. Do you think you might have stayed too long?
No. In fact, the reaction of the board was the opposite.
How old are you now?
58 and a bit.
And what is your official retirement?
The official pensionable age, it would be 65, but we don't have an official retirement age as such.
So you could have stuck around for another 7 years?
I could, in theory, yeah.
But you feel you've had your innings and off you go elsewhere?
Well, I haven't plans to go elsewhere at this point. I've certainly focused
go fishing or whatever the case might be.
But I mean, the key point is that this is still at least a year away. I plan to spend the time working hard, continuing to realize the strategy, and to the extent that the board wants to be part of making sure there's a solid and effective transition.
How does that all work out? If you know, the king is dead, long live the king kind of thing. If you appoint a deputy, would people not automatically start deferring to him, knowing that you're not going to be there for a while?
Well, of course, managing the process of transition makes a difference. It means that some of the relationships will change and develop. We're in the fortunate position of having a very stable, strong, and long-serving team. The average tenure of the executive team, excluding myself, is over 9 years already. So we've got a pretty solid, strong team that I think will continue to work very well together with this new situation.
And your board, there's been some interesting developments there recently?
Well, I think there's some very positive developments. I'm not sure which ones you refer to as interesting. Leslie Marstorp, the chairman's been in the position now for a number of years, and we've got some very good directors.
So there was no pressure from them to say, we need new blood, you've been around 11 years rather?
Probably fair to say that they were a little surprised and a little disappointed. Obviously, I discussed it with the chairman in particular and other directors for some time before making the announcement at the board meeting on Friday.
Is it likely that there's going to be a difference in the strategy going forward? We've often had this discussion that ADvTECH's got these wonderful education assets on the one side, but recruitment, which for a while hasn't really been a great contributor.
Alec, I don't think so. We've got a very exciting strategy of consistent investment plan for the next decade. I think one must be careful, though, about believing that there won't be any changes. I'd be disappointed, to be honest, if there weren't any in the next decade. This is a dynamic company in a dynamic environment, and some changes are going to be inevitable. One imagines that they are likely to be incremental and developmental. For example, a couple of interesting things we've been doing. In the last few years, a lot of our investment in the tertiary space has been led by and led with technology and developments in technology. That looks set to increase and continue, and certainly the recently appointed COO of the tertiary division is very much focused on taking us into that space and into new markets in Africa.
Opportunities are huge in a private education field, that we've known for many, many years.
Yeah.
But you've also got Cura, your noisy neighbor, driven by Yanni Mouton, huge share price premium relative to yours. Has that given you much irritation?
No. we have not allowed ourselves to be distracted by that. Obviously, as we know Yanni and Piet Mouton do, we watch what they're up to and take an interest in what they have to say. But so far, there has been little evidence of much overlap, and certainly from an investment proposition point of view, we stick to our message and our plan, which is one of growth and value and consistent performance over time.
Frank, what happened to EduCore? Remember they were part of the NASPAS group and then they got spun out of that. Are they a serious competitor today?
EduCore has, of course, been broken up. I don't know whether you remember this, but in fact, NASPAS owned, as part of the EduCore stable, 50% of Curo, which in fact subsequently went into PSG. The other big parts of EduCore were ADvTECH and Damlin, which were transferred from EduCore into private hands.
So the one competitor has become split up and perhaps a little more aggressive in the PSG hands. ADvTECH, after Frank Thompson, a bit more aggressive or steady as she goes?
Well, I think aggressive is a double-edged term. I prefer assertive and a consistent plan for growth, led by investment and led by exploration and operation in new areas of education. I mean, quite an exciting example. We announced a few months ago an initial investment in the Star Schools Group, which is a distance education, very exciting, and in fact with a rich heritage in the South African schooling scene. But Star Schools today has over 6,000 matriculants, which is 4 times the number of ADvTECH's traditional model, and a very exciting harbinger of, we think, a very exciting and interesting way forward in real low-fee private education that is completely different to trying to squeeze the every last drop out of a traditional model.
Thank you, Frank. We're going to be no doubt talking at least once more because you've got another set of results coming before
if not several times, Alec.
Indeed. And that was Frank Thompson, outgoing Chief Executive of ADvTECH.